any direction how we could reach that, or any options how we can go about getting that done. I know we pay $15 a quarter for trash collection. Is that true?
That's 1833.
It's 1833. Gee, I'm behind times. And don't even know it. But anyhow, you can look at that as part of whatever. And I still think that there would be uniformity in the town of Elkton. And again, the trash people won't have to be bending and picking up bags or any kind of container to stick trash into to the trash truck. Now, Joe, I remember, I think it was about 5 years ago, I had to go to Port Deposit for something, and you were with me, and we rode to the town of Port Deposit. And as you went through the town, you saw all of those trash containers. Do you remember you was with me then? And I pointed that out. The last time we had a storm on High Street, I know, the lady had bags of trash there, it blew all over Elkton, so you had to use your men to come up with man hours just to clean that up. And I just think we need some uniformity. You talk about improving downtown. A lot of times on Sunday evening, you go down there and you see bags all over the place. I mean, they have them in order, but I still think uniformity would be a great asset.
It really would.
Do you want to have him really look into it? Because this is budget time now.
Well,
Incentive price, I can't recall what it was.
$277,000. But how you can do this is to extend a contract with Waste Management of Delaware, for example, for a 5-year period. I'm sure they want to buy a longer contract, then advertise the price of the containers over that period of time, which would mitigate the cost per user then. I'd go longer, but I don't know if I'd go beyond 5 years. You could, and I know they'll respond. I can send something to Kevin Bean and get a price, what that'll cost and be able to figure out a quarterly adjustment on recovery of that.
See how much more it would cost.
And I mean, we're not only talking about trash, you're also talking about recycling. So if you're going to do that, then you've got to have something in mind of how you're going to do this and collect this. So, yeah, I wish Lois would continue into that vein to see what we can come up with.
So you're looking at getting everyone a trash can for regular trash as well as recyclables?
No,
because you have to have 2 cans.
I understand that. That's why I'm giving it to him to see what may be out there for that.
See what the cost would be.
Because, see, there would be a difference, particularly if somebody has an apartment unit. They wouldn't have these trash containers, or they may. I don't know. That's what he needs to look at, because certainly who has what all over the town of Elkton, what would be more feasible. Because you remember before we had to, we made some apartments get the
big dumpsters.
The big dumpsters. There were certain places where the trash truck was able to back inside the unit and pick up the trash there before people was bringing it to the curb. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. A lot of that is backed up to the code enforcement as well, because the apartments, they're required to have containers.
That's correct.
Closed containers, as well as the residents as well. So, and that kind of leads to some old business that I talked about is, particularly on Main Street. How exactly is the code enforcement handling the issues on Main Street, particularly that vacant building that always seems to accumulate trash throughout the week?
124?
Yes.
There's no trash there. I went and checked this morning, and it was one little bag. It's gone, and I went back the night before the meeting because I knew somebody would ask me. The only thing that's there is the gate. There's a broken gate that we'll either get rid of that or I'll tell the owner to fix it. But there's no trash there. No.
And I thought Aberdeen had a very good recycling program. I don't know what they have, but certain color bags or certain things there, when the people come through, they pick up, they know what's what. It's something to look into.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Chuck?
Covers it.
All done?
I did forget one thing. I did forget 2 things on mine, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Do I have to pay a fine?
Yeah.
KCI is one of the things that we talked about, the fees. Where do we stand with that?
They submitted a letter and a copy went to the board. As they had said, they would hold their 2009, 2010 prices for 2011, but they wouldn't go beyond that. I called Dwight Walters, who's their head man over there, and they, in the interest of their company, they can't go beyond a year.
I still would like us to
Holding
discuss
that
at
2011.
workshop, the fact of us looking at the option of us having our own engineer. And it's on the next agenda.
That's what I thought we were doing too.
Because I think we're gonna see that the price difference is gonna be amazing.
And then the last thing is the old RMR building. Is that still going to be constructed as a business, or is that still gone through, or has it folded?
The last I spoke with Mr. Schwab, he actually wanted to knock the existing building down and put 3 separate buildings up on the site. This was several months ago. So
That's a change from the industrial plant that's supposed to come there or whatever.
to more like office buildings. And, I mean, I received a sketch from the engineer, but that's as far as it went.
He has signs out there now showing what it looks like. I guess he's trying to get some buyers to invest there or get it. So,
Okay, thanks.
I got one more thing to add, if you don't mind, and going back to Commissioner Ponder, certainly we all have interest in community recreation in this area. As you talk about putting money forth, what about a place or location? What,
Sorry, I asked about the RMR.
pardon?
That's why I was asking about the RMR building. We really want to keep someplace in town and someplace that's,
Walkable.
yeah,
I think that's
in the
important.
community. I just asked about the RMR building because I heard it wasn't going forth with the original plans. That's why I asked that.
Now,
That might not answer your
my
question.
question would be would it have to be in town or would it be in a location?
I have not.
No, I'm just asking
I have
off
no
the
answer to
cuff.
that one.
Okay.
I hope that the board would want it to be in town limits. Is that the question you asked me?
Well, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
The town limits could be 3 miles out of town though.
I think, I talked to Mary last week in Parks and Rec, and I think she really wanted it within walking distance from 2 or 3 schools. And, because, you know, the hardest thing is to get parents to drive a child anywhere today. So if we have somewhere that's walkable, so close to possibly Elkton High, Elkton Middle School, Gilpin Manor, you know, that would really get a lot of children there.
well, you know, you got that
But that
building
would
right across the
negate that
street.
thought if, well, we have land available now that the town owns,
Yep, on 40,
right?
right. So that's a site.
And Lewis had submitted to me, I don't know what it did to you all, another site which we looked at a long, long time ago. I don't know how suitable that is, but I was just asking that question.
That's good.
And I think Jean had a couple sites on the map, it was a while ago, the map in your office, that were possibilities.
Yeah, they were adjacent to the existing Meadow Park East,
Right.
and the price was pretty steep.
Well, that becomes another problem because was the old Warburton place up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just read in the paper that the federal government has cut out, was it the federal government, somebody's cut out all the CBG money, cutting back, or the state was cutting back on that, so that it's going to really hurt us, hurt a lot of people that cut that really bad.
I'm
So-
actually going to testify Friday for that.
Yeah, because that's totally unacceptable, because we have made very much use of that money there, and now they're going to cut it. But that building across the street is a county building. I don't know if we could look into something like that, if they would.
This is a historical building. I don't think they
Yeah.
want, they don't want to
That's
touch
on
that
the
because it's
historic
historical.
registry.
Into a rec center, I mean, do something.
With that building across the street, the facade is something that, you know, you would try to retain that. The interior of the building has been completely changed, so there's nothing, I mean, you can do whatever you want with the interior of the building, I think. I think the only question Mary had was, I think she wanted fields adjacent to
Right.
the building, if at all possible, in an ideal world. So,
Okay. Well, we'll keep investigating it.
And I know your time away, and another thing, and it's nice to have a recreation center near the school. But also you need to look at the fact too, that there's not a lot of walkers to school anymore. Elkton has changed. And if you look at it, most of the kids are bused to schools, whether it's Gilpin Manor, Elkton Middle, Elkton High. So, you know, that walking distance may not be necessarily a great consideration, but a place to have a place. Just think about that.
Do you know how many students actually drive themselves?
Driving is down because of economics right now. But if you are going to school in the morning, you see that there's very few walkers. But it's great to have a recreation building near the schools, but you may not have that many people that walk that you think you're going to have. But you can think about that down the road.
Now, I know we're speaking of recreation. Is this all lumped in the same thing as a community center?
Mm-hmm.
Is it easier to get funds for a community center, including the elderly and such, or is it all just one as far as the recreation goes?
I think if you mix a community center in with the services for elderly and that sort of thing, you can incorporate CDBG funding in with the program open space funding, I believe. I'd have to check to see if you match state with state, although
That would be ideal.
technically
So
it should be
it says
cut.
and that.
But, you know, you always look for other,
Good point.
to see if there's other sources.
Okay.
For example, with the Judy Center in Hollingsworth Manor, it was 800,000 of CDBG money, because of the neighborhood and assisting persons in need. And then the balance of the funds, because I think that project was $1.3 million project, the balance of the funds came from other smaller sources of grants.
Great. Okay.
Okay, Lewis?
Okay, item I have tonight, this item is a utility easement to be granted to Delmarva. Delmarva needs a utility easement in order to run a 34 kV line to the Cecil County Detention Center. I sent that all out to the board. It's going to be off the property line, and we've already located the utilities, property lines and everything. So it won't be an issue with us, and I think Gene cleared it with the Historic Oak Landing, DOS, Maryland Historic Trust. So it's now before the board to agree or approve an easement to Delmarva Power to service that property. The existing power supply will not meet the needs of that facility that's being renovated. So I would suggest and encourage the board to grant utility easement to Delmarva Power to run the 34 kV line to the Cecil County Detention Center from Landing Lane.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to let Delmarva Power Company utility easement?
So moved.
Second.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item I have a request from the Elkton Alliance. They're having the Citizen of the Year banquet on March 25th here in the building. They will serve alcoholic beverages as they normally do, and the town has the authority to waive that requirement, that prohibition requirement. I would suggest that the board grant a waiver for alcoholic beverage restrictions to the Elkton Alliance Inc. Oh, I'm sorry, for March 31st?
31st.
March.
Okay.
Yeah, that's wrong there.
March 31st.
Okay, do I have a motion to allow Elkton Lions for alcohol waiver for March 31st? Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And everybody almost had to come early.
2010.
Last item I have, we had conducted a survey of the Buttonwoods project.
That was a very good survey that you did too.
I'm sorry?
That was a very good survey.
Thank you, and I submitted a report to the board with a preliminary recommendation. I would suggest to the board that they give that recommendation consideration, and if so, we can initiate planning at this stage, and then of course we're going into the fiscal year 2012, so it would be the time to put some funds in there for planning. I don't think it would be really expensive to do this. There's a number of areas down there. There's some pictures there. There's some areas along Buttonwoods Road that could be carved out for additional parking. I think that the residents, some of the residents want permitted parking, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it unless you had a place for people to park if they weren't given a permit. Some of those places, and I put them in there in my report, how many spaces are available. In some areas there are over 2 spaces, and in some areas there are less than 2 spaces. If you granted permits for two people to park for each home, that would satisfy some of the requirements in order to get them closer to their homes, but you need spillover parking, so we need to be able to provide that opportunity to those people in order to meet that requirement. So I would suggest that the board authorize at least us to commit to planning, and we'll lay it out and get some costs and everything later on. I just needed to have a report to the board about what those findings were.
Well, it looks like basically 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks really have sufficient parking for 2 cars, and 2 of them don't.
The issue comes in, it was pretty unanimous opinion of the people who live there, respondents I would mention, that not only do they park, but they have visitors. And that's therein lies the problem, because they have family, people, friends come over, and pretty soon, you don't have any place to park when people get home from work. I can pretty much tell you that all the thoroughbred people, either night or weekend, holidays, mostly nights and weekends were the dominant time when you have a problem, because most people, I guess, work during the day when they come home and they have nowhere to park. And a lot of them lamented about the fact that when the association dissolved and we took it over, then they couldn't get their spots. So regulated parking would be the way to go, but you need to have, as I said, an opportunity for a living park elsewhere. And I think if you put it close to the block there, I think you can accommodate that. We'll have to look closely at how much space you have and deal with the issues, but I think you could get it close enough that you would have reasonable access to spillover parking nearby those blocks, rather than put them out in the middle of nowhere.
In your report, I guess it wasn't determined how many might be homeowners and how many might be renters out there, because that would be a problem when you start talking about providing permit parking. That could be a nightmare.
We can find out who renters are. We could research each home, and we would know if it's owner occupied or not. We could find that information out. The easiest way is if you look at an address and then you check it, and somebody lives in New Jersey, probably not owner occupied. So it's pretty easy for us to research our records and find out who are renters and who are renters. If you want that information, I can get that to you.
I thought it would be simple to you. I mean, because if somebody is very transient, then you're going to be constantly issuing permits.
We have that in Brentwood too. People come and go. We issue permits.
You can have that if you want.
Okay, that's it.
That's our complete
Okay.
report.
I just have a few things.
Oh, could I mention one thing? I don't mean to interrupt the board. Since I'm going to put this on our website, that way residents of Buffalo Woods Road could look at it and see what it is.
Good. Well, that's good. Let them know what the outcome was, yeah.
Because a lot of people want to see what were the results of the survey. We can put it on there. Pretty comprehensive results there.
Very good. Okay, we have a upcoming chapter Hartford Cecil meeting coming up. I also got word that the chapter elections are coming up, and I received notice to ask the board if they have any nominations for District 10 Vice President, which would be someone within our towns here, within Cecil County, to become Vice President of District 10. And Chapter Vice President would be, a selection must be made from Hartford County, and if you know anybody from Hartford County that you'd like to nominate, and a Secretary Treasurer, and the Wilmapco representative. So, if you have anybody you'd like to nominate,
Not gonna be you.
you can,
Mapco, he says.
you can do that. You can do that.
No, I said you're not redoing it. I didn't say me.
Oh, no, if you nominate me to be a Wilmapco representative again, I can do that.
I'm I would nominate you to be Wilmette representative since you're already part of Wilmette.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we got one. But you come up with anybody else that you'd like to nominate. I think Mayor Everhart was the district vice president before. And if you'd like, we can still nominate him and it'd be up to him either to accept. I mean, it's throughout the towns where all the towns get to nominate someone and then we make a ballot.
Who was it?
Mayor Everhart. He was district vice president.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So if anybody want to nominate him, we can put him down as such. And if you accept the job again, you make a nomination then?
Representative, yes,
Okay.
excellent.
Have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
That would be for District 10.
District vice president.
Vice
District 10 vice president.
Okay.
Mayor Everhart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your vice president doesn't have to come from Harford County this time?
Charter, no, District 10 vice president has to, no.
Okay.
Just the vice president has to be from Harford County this year. Okay. And Secretary Treasurer is Emily Fletcher at the present time. So if you can nominate someone else, or you can nominate her again.
I would nominate Emily again,
You know?
yes.
Okay.
What was that?
To
Emily?
nominate Emily for treasurer, or Secretary Treasurer.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I would.
You would?
Yeah.
You got a second? All right, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right.
You Secretary Treasurer, you said?
Yeah. The only thing is, we just don't know anybody from Hartford County. That's all. I don't know if anybody got a chance to see the new census for this year. Town of Elkton did grow. We ranked 17th, and we grew by 3,550 people, bringing our total up now to 15,443 residents. That's the new census.
What did you say was again?
15,443, and we ranked 17th in the state, in the town municipalities. And I think Elkton, Lewis has we just got in the mail the other day, gave it to him a little finer breakdown of everything, so we can get that out to you.
You were the second fastest growing. You were the second fastest growing town
Yep.
from Easton.
That's gonna go up 100 and some in July when the senior park is
Yeah.
going.
Oh. That's right.
Clinton and the fruit.
Okay. That's everything I have, Mary Jo.
I just wanted to mention, I just recently received an email about the lines painted on North Street by the Columbia Bank. They said they're faded and not there, so people are parking really close to the corner, and they're having a problem with the traffic there.
On North Street? Okay.
And that's all I had.
No, but wouldn't it be easier to include your commissioner comments with the old business as you speak? And if you have some new business, explain that. It would be a lot easier than going back around, to me.
Well, it's part of the old business.
Could you do that? Okay, I don't have nothing there.
Charlie, anything?
Yeah, some residents in Elkton Heights have cleaned up from the recent storm, but evidently there must have been a notice that pickup wouldn't be until April. Who's going to pick up in the meantime, or is that the case, or what is the case?
There's debris,
Yeah,
it'll be picked up tomorrow.
Yeah.
by the town. About
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll pick it up.
Debris up there, and you tell me about it, it'll be picked up tomorrow.
Okay. And, as far as us communicating with, the residents, the Cecil Wicks subscriptions are down. I don't know whether you knew that or not, because, it's just society anymore. Newspapers are shrinking away. And, I don't know, we just need to be committal to whatever we're going to do and how we're going to do it to let the residents No, of course, everybody doesn't have a website either.
Right.
So I guess maybe it might depend upon newsletters or something going home in your, the water bill.
Yeah.
I mean, we can put the, if you look at that in the budget, because I think we just cut that down because of
What the,
the newsletter, we just put it on the internet, on our website, cut down the expense.
right.
Yeah, and also, if you don't mind, Charlie, you brought that up. On the advertising, I don't know if you checked into the Cecil Guardian yet, but it is much
We're
cheaper.
putting that in there.
And, okay, because I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it's a lot cheaper than the Cecil Wig, and everyone is reading it now.
Yeah, we put that in there.
Commissioner Hicks, nothing? Becky?
Guy that lives up there, but if you go down that.
Back in McKinley, Cecil County. I have a question. This Bell Hill LLC costs $3,135. What is it, vacant lot?
No, that was a petition for annexation advertisement that they paid for. They paid us and we put it through.
Well, we have a vacant lot up there too, by the truck stop. Yes, we do.
This is the Bell LLC.
No, I'm saying we have one. Yes, we do. Anyway, we need to, like Mary Jo said, think, and Earl Piner, we need to think about something these children can walk to as well as get there. Not many parents have a car. I personally don't have one, and I'm 71. Now, a lot of young people don't have cars. And out of old Walmarts, I heard you talking about that. How do you think you're going to get the children there? They're going to hitchhike down the highway, all the way to the hitchhike, and go to Walmart.
Becky, I was not speaking of the old Walmart, I was speaking of the building right across the street. The old
Why don't
Walmart.
we buy the old jail, which is in good shape, and we can have something for everybody, the seniors and everybody. We gotta think of the seniors too, as well as the children. Y'all getting there, y'all gonna be my age, and then you ain't gonna have nothing. You're gonna be in the same boat I'm in.
Are you sure you're 70, Becky?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
71,
okay.
1938. But it's ridiculous that we don't even have a thing in this town for seniors, let alone the children outside of Park and Recreation. Now, if it's not a sin, I'd like to know what is. Another thing is, like Mr. Piner was speaking and Mr. Gibbons, we do need, and Mary Jo, we need something very bad before school's out for these young children to keep them, you know, off the streets, because most of the parents don't care. They're in a bar or God knows where. And I love children. I don't like to see them get killed or misled, and I can't stand to see a child be abused. And I won't let it go on because I reported to the health department and the state, and I have. Another thing is, what are you going to do with the seniors' apartments if we got to separate the trash? Hello, where's the extra dumpster?
At the 150 building, are you talking about, Becky?
All of them. We got the new senior building coming up, so you gotta have 2 dumpsters. You gotta have one for whatever and one for the regular trash, Louis.
The recycle program applies to curbside service, not dumpsters. So we're not providing dumpsters.
Well, we already have enough trash on Main Street as it is. Between the children standing, you've been yelling up there at Berkeley's and the grown-ups till 12, 1 o'clock, and down here on the corner by Brothers Pizza, we have enough of that. Plus bags of trash. And the only reason there wasn't none tonight where you look is because I made sure. I made her pick it up and take it back up to her apartment. It's not a dump. If you have one out back, take it to it. You're not putting it on Main Street. You got 2 trash cans already setting up there on Main Street by the lawyer's office. Hello? What do we want his trash cans for? It's best to put them around the corner if he can't pick them up. We don't want to look like trash Louis. We want Elkton to look like the town of Elkton. And we do need an officer to check brothers at all times, and John Berkeley's, because there's a lot going on, and most of them are dates.
Okay. Okay.
Good job, Becky.
Thank you.
All right, need to get a motion for a closed meeting to discuss personnel.
I move that we have a closed meeting to discuss personnel.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We will not be reconvening.